Keep in mind that I am not a racist. I am black and white. I had several Hispanics and white people do my tattoos. I wear Asian geese, and there are Jews and Hispanics in my extended family. With that being said, it was decided long ago that every race, in order to maintain their image and facade, would share in taking the black man's credit. Their secret societies were not based on natural excellence. They were based on illusion. And their cultures would be built on a foundation of lies that they would need millions of people to maintain. In a natural world, the descendants of the people who could not compete mentally or physically decided to leave Africa. Some went further away for a wide variety of reasons. Some chose to endure and stayed close. The ones that went to more isolated places remained more pure, if you will. And the ones who stayed close were more mixed with Africans, as history makes clear to us time and time again, with the countless invasions towards and away from Africa. These people, in maintaining their illusions and lies, decided to never allow the black man to return to his glory. You have seen proof with studies from whites themselves that place Africans on the top of the intellectual pyramid. And we have seen countless proofs in sports and combat arts, including all these other races hiding from my challenge. That places the black man on the top of the spiritual pyramid, as well as the physical or martial arts pyramid. I guarantee you these same liars and the fools that they have brainwashed will never, ever admit that. The same way they pretend that racism is not a big factor when it comes to financial success or social hardship. The black man needs to realize that no one is his friend. The Democrats aren't his friend. The Norteños aren't his friend. The Asians aren't his friend. And traitor blacks who will sell out and do everything they can to make these other races look good in exchange for help maintaining their social control and financial incentives are not the black man's friend. The only real black man is a man of black African descent who has accepted a black African culture, such as a martial arts culture or an ethnic African culture. An ethnic black African culture, obviously. So at the end of the day, the wisest and the best are black Africans who remain true to one of many black African cultures, including martial arts cultures that separated themselves from the mainstream. While the average person in a tribe was living, say, like an Igbo, the warriors were separated and they had their own cultures, customs, and traditions that the mainstream Igbo only sort of understood. As we see with the leopard society, for instance, we see that they have symbols that they explain to everyone, and then they have symbols that are kept to themselves. The only solution is for black people to separate themselves from the white man's drugs, illegal or prescription, specifically mind-altering substances. For him to create a powerful society that punishes physically anyone who would seek to oppress the black man, to covertly drug him, to use psychiatry on him, to politically abuse anything against him. No such a group or society exists, no matter what you think. Everything I said is 100% truth. So help me God, and I would give $3,000 if anyone can definitively prove otherwise. As I'm sure you've all figured out by now, no one possibly could. All these groups have vested interest in keeping the black man down, and they all have decided long ago that they're better off making the best of it in a world dominated by whites, Jews, and then Asians, than to go against the grain, restore the black man his glory. Because they basically have one or two options in their minds. One, go along with the white power structure, the Jewish internationalists, and the powerful Asian families, and make the best of it, thus elevating themselves above the black man. Or two, in their minds, be on the losing team, trying to restore the black man to his glory, which would not allow them a single avenue to put their race above every other one. So they decided to kind of try to make their races stick to themselves and brainwash them and make them think that the truth is a lie and that their lies are truth. This is how it is. It is very heartbreaking. I've gone through the specifics many times. It is ridiculous to think that some Ichabod Crane or some big clumsy white guy, wrestler or football player or something, or a corn-fed guy from the South, could outmaneuver a black person at combat arts. They needed to create a new form of warfare and an artificial system, an artificial warfare, that would allow them to gain the upper hand. Naturally, the black man is above every race. And again, I'm not racist. I'm half white. I have no reason to lie. I have as much reason to say the white man is superior as to say that the black man is. The fact of the matter is, I believe that we are all equal in the eyes of God and we are different. But part of that difference is that the black man, historically, through tens of thousands of years of natural evidence, not artificial, natural evidence that cannot be reversed, changed, or revised, the black man proved his natural superiority. We are now living in an age where people would deny that. And you know, it's quite funny. People say things like, white man can't jump. The black man has the biggest dick. There are little hints here and there of the black man's superiority. Again, the Nigerian studies, how they are an estimated between 5 and 15%, IQ points higher than white people. That's a full standard deviation, 15 IQ points. How they are over twice as likely to have a graduate degree as the average white in their own country. And how all the greats are black people. Name one white person from any sport that is comparable to Michael Jordan or Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson. They simply do not exist. We are the legends that are true. We are on the top of the natural pyramid. Now, I wouldn't even bother pointing this out if one of the major factors of the conspiracy is covering this up. Eugenics is the direction of humanity through lies in an artificial system by whites, Jews, and Asians. That is exactly what eugenics is. And when you do your due diligence and you look at the unethical experimentations and the people who rolled with eugenics the most, you will find that they are Asian countries, India, China, Japan with its order, its social order. The sterilizations in India, the starvation that was allowed to occur, the Indians roll with. The Indian elite, that is. The Japanese scientists, as well as the Nazi scientists and unethical experimentations. The Jewish scientists. And quote-unquote medical doctors. It is impossible for someone with an honest mind to hear my argument in this video and not come to the complete conclusion that I'm right, that certainly I must be right, that there is an abundance of evidence that thoroughly proves me right, and there isn't a shred of valid evidence that would even begin to suggest that I might be wrong. The best way to mess up their eugenic plan is for the black man to unequivocally declare his natural superiority. Their whole system is designed for the black man to take the brunt, while Mexican drug cartels and Mexican females that look almost identical to Spanish females blend in. The Hispanics don't have it that bad. They control the drug trade on the top level. They look white. They're mostly white. They're mostly Spanish with a touch of native, which is basically what white people in America are. They're, how many white people claim native heritage? The Asians don't have it bad. They're one of the big three. Most of the people who call themselves natives are actually white people with a touch of native. This is a white world order where the Indians are bending over backwards to be included and have gone out of their way to prove themselves to the New World Order. Do not be fooled. It is everybody siding with Satan, with very few exceptions, against the small percentage of black people of African descent, which is all black people, obviously, right? Who have remained true to an African culture and refused to accept eugenics, mainstream white culture, whitewashing of black urban culture, or any other Western-derived culture or slave culture or byproduct of Western culture like black American culture. We have to go out of our way to educate ourselves. We can outsmart them. In fact, right now we are outsmarting them as black people, as a group of black people who have rejected Western culture. Through maintaining African culture of hard work and focus, we can outsmart them. Through maintaining African martial arts traditions, we can outperform them physically and spiritually. And if we use that same focus to ensure the quality of our food and water, we can keep them from sabotaging us. And if we punish them harshly with plausible deniability, we can overcome all their sabotage attempts and rise above them naturally, using those same principles that allowed us to vanquish and expel them. One of the main things that has separated me from black militants, and almost by default Hispanic gangs who have a certain working relationship with black militants that goes back to before the 60s, really, is my stance on the Black Lives Matter movement, which is supported by almost the entire left. When it comes to Alex Jones, who I agree with about 98% of what he says, maybe 95, somewhere around there. When it comes to Alex Jones versus the Black Lives Matter movement, and those communist agitators, you can already imagine that I believe that Alex Jones is more right than they are. Yes, it is very hard for a black person in this country. I don't think Alex Jones has ever said that it isn't. And I'm sure that if you pressed him about it, he would admit that it's harder for black people than any other group. We are very stigmatized. Everybody hates us. Everybody's out to get us, generally speaking. However, you have to understand that communism and controlled black opposition have a long history of being wrong in this country. They'll touch on points that are right, but they'll direct that anger in a way that is wrong. I believe the wealth does need to be redistributed. You know, there's a small group of people that own the majority of the wealth in the world. I agree. I don't agree with free love, abolition of religion, abolition of private property. I don't agree with a lot of communist ideas, so I'm not a communist. I'm a Christian. First and foremost, nothing will ever change that. In fact, I believe that ISIS is probably more correct than the communist movement because of their stated philosophy having higher moral value than the communist stated philosophy, which is quite immoral and leads to decadence, high rates of STDs, and just debauchery, really. Once the majority of black people have aligned themselves with communist ideas, even if it is not a communist party under a communist banner, then they have placed themselves in the wrong. This kind of staged race war that the media, the communists, psychiatry, secret societies, and so on are pushing is going to place everybody in the wrong. When I stick up for black people, it's by placing them in the right and doing what it takes to win. Again, I'm a Christian, so I do what's best for all people, and I tell the truth. However, I do believe that which you do for the least of your brethren, you do for Jesus. And so I go a little further trying to help black people. It's a quite sad affair we have. We have all these gays and all these feminists and all these mental health, drug-pushing filth, teaming up with the commies and, these radical leftists or whatever you want to call them. Then you have these secret society people. And let's face it, most of their main players are of Jewish descent. They're atheists that descend from Jews. And this is part of a greater conspiracy designed to create a world with the masses of people being Luciferian or atheist, and a small group of Christians and a small group of Jews that believe that they are God's chosen people doing eugenics on the rest of us. Then there will also be a small group of Satanists as well that will separate themselves from the forced vaccinations and drug into the water and what have you. This is not even a theory. When I say I believe, I know this to be true. I know this. I've met these people. I live in Northern California by some of the centers of all these things. And I've studied this. While everyone else is at work and stuff, my whole life is dedicated to the truth. I do not let a complex confuse me about what the truth is. Now, I don't trust anybody to lead a movement against these people. Especially if I do not trust them 100%. That's why I do not openly support InfoWars. But I agree with them about a lot of things. I see too many black people are sucked in with their complexes and their hatred. You have to first concentrate with your mind. Focus, concentrate. Be aware. Use your willpower. Get the truth. And then you use that anger that you've had that would have led you astray, and the anger you have from having to focus yourself instead of just let your emotions go, to direct a very powerful, focused form of anger, moral outrage, and righteous indignation to do the right thing. Let it discipline you. That's what the military does. When they fight a war of efficiency, if you will, where they try to be more efficient than the opposition and therefore defeat them by being more effective and efficient. It's what you must do. Put the militant in the phrase black militant. Stop trying to just fit in with the black movement. Say, you know what, I'm mad at the government. They're mad, so let's work together. It's more complicated than that. That's what most of your problems are. And I know how you feel. There's even a part of me that is tempted to do that. But I know why it's a very, very, very bad idea. Even if you were to win, the type of world that you would be setting up is exactly what the oppressors want. They have two ideas of what they want, and then they have meeting in the middle is what they really, really want. They don't care whether the left wins, or they meet in the middle. It's a win-win-win situation for them. But they're going to direct everything toward meeting in the middle, and that is what is going to happen. Just like the movie Captain America Civil War. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I can venture to say that it probably starts off with the Black Panther and his group, versus Captain America and his group, right? And they clash, and in the end, they address all their concerns in a way that is mutually beneficial, which is exactly what the plan is for America. Captain America representing the flag-waving, kind of blonde, kind of Southerner or conservative, and the Black Panther representing, the Black Panther Party and, this kind of liberal, black militant type people. You people just don't understand. This is bad for everybody. But if there's one group of people that should be utterly disgusted by this, it is black Christians. It's a lose-lose situation for black Christians. Christianity will be almost completely obliterated. In its pure form, it will be lost. You may as well burn all the Bibles in the world, because they will be meaningless in a world of mind control where people lead you astray and force you to do it their way, or they drug you. And black people will take the brunt of this. So to be a black Christian and to go along with this is absolute insanity. No one should hate them more. Thank you.